So let's create a React project, and to create a React project, we can use Vue.js, which is a popular alternative to create React. So this is the recommended way you can use to create a React. So to create that, you can execute npm create build command. Here you can give the project name. I can give you library mgt app. Now select React and then JavaScript. Now I can see it into the folder library app, and I will open in VS Code. Now the project is opened. Here, if you see, we don't have any node modules folder. So we first need to create that node modules. For that, we can install all the packages using npm install. So once we do npm install, it will install all the dependencies as well as dev dependency on your local machine. And now we can remove the unnecessary code. Let me zoom out. So this app.css I don't want. This app.jsx, let's add some different code. So I'll type RAFCE and it will create some boilerplate code. So if you want to see how to create, you can install this ES7 plus snippets script. So this will help you to quickly create all the boilerplate code so you don't have to type it manually from scratch. And another extension which you need if you are using Tailwind CSS, so it's Tailwind CSS Intelligence. You must install this. It will help you to type those classes and see the suggestions. So you will understand once we configure this. So we have installed everything. Let me remove everything from index.css and we can start the application. Now, if we access, now let me refresh this. You can see app is getting this. So now let's configure Tailwind CSS. So you can go to the Tailwind CSS website, click on Get Started. Here in the installation, click on Framework Guide. So as we are using Vue.js, you need to click here. And here we have already created Vue project. Now we can install these commands. So first copy and let me stop this and paste it here. So this will configure Tailwind CSS in our application. And then we need to also execute this command. So this command will create a Tailwind CSS configuration file. So now if I execute this command, you will see a Tailwind CSS config file created on this website. You can see tailwind.config file is added. Now what's the next step? We need to add this code inside the Tailwind config file. So I'll paste it everything. This file is very important. So inside the content, you need to define all the classes, all the files where you are using Tailwind CSS classes. So here you can see index.html. You can use Tailwind classes in index.html as well as all the nested folders also inside the src folder. So anywhere you can add Tailwind classes and it will work. So this adding this is very important. If you don't add, then Tailwind CSS will not scan your files and it will not, you will not be able to see those classes added when you run the application. So this adding this code is very important. It will help Tailwind CSS to scan those files and apply all the CSS that you have written. So now after adding things, what the next step? We need to add the index.css. So now inside the index.css, I can add. So this is our main CSS file. So this is the default configuration we need to add. So after adding this, Tailwind CSS will add some default reset CSS, component specific CSS that will be automatically added. So previously you can see there is some margin here, but after adding all this configuration, all the margin padding will be removed. Now we need to run this. So we are done with the configuration. So first let's copy this so we can test if the Tailwind classes are correctly applied. So I will paste it here. Now I can run npm run dev. So if I refresh here, you can see it correctly applies. So it's immediately touching the border. That means we have removed all the CSS by default CSS which comes when you install anything. So now we can also try text center. You can see we get this suggestion. So I'm able to see all these suggestions. This is because that tailwind CSS intelligence extension. So you should have that extension installed because some classes might not present and you might type and it will not be reflected. So let's say padding. So if I want to add padding, let's say padding of, if I press control space, you can see all the padding. There is no padding 13 or padding 15. But if you add that padding 13, you might think that padding is added, but there is no padding added because there is no 15 class added in Tailwind CSS. So you need to make sure you have that extension. So it will tell you that there is 13, there is 14, but there is no 15. You can see there is no suggestion. So you will correctly add only those classes which are present. So you need to make sure you add these classes. Now you can see it's correctly adding this. Now I can add this text center to center align. So you can see it's working. All the tailwind is working fine. Now once the tailwind is configured, we can configure Shadcn UI. So Shadcn UI, you can see it provides a lot of components, ready to use components. So we don't have to write all the CSS, JavaScript our own. So if you go to click on get started, you can see it has a lot of component accordion. There is also alert. If I want to add alert, avatar is there. Then there is a command combo box. This is a select drop down if you want to add. There is a drawer. So if I click on this, I can open the drawer from left side, bottom, right side, from anywhere. There is a drop down menu. So you don't have to implement everything from scratch. So you just copy paste the code. So Shadcn UI is just a copy paste library. So you don't have to write everything from scratch. So first, let's see how to install. So you can click on this installation. So if you go to Shadcn UI, click on get started, then click on installation. And as we are using Vite, click on Vite. Now we have already done all this setup Tailwind CSS. So Shadcn UI is based on Tailwind CSS. So you must have Tailwind CSS first installed, and after that you need to configure this Shadcn UI. Now the next thing is we need to create tsconfig.json and add this code. So this is specific to TypeScript. So as we are not using TypeScript, we can create jsconfig.json. So inside your project, not in specific folder, outside you can create jsconfig.json. So name has to match. So make sure you correctly add that name jsconfig.json. I'll copy and paste it here. And now the next thing is we need to add these types. This is for TypeScript, so we don't need to worry about that. We can copy this and we need to add this inside the Vite config. So here you can see we have these plugins and define config. So let's replace everything here. This helps to import your components or files easily. So you don't have to use multiple dots to import any file. So now we need to run this command to initialize our Shadcn UI in our application. So let me paste that. So it will install the Shadcn UI, all the components required. So we are not using TypeScript, so I'll say no. You can choose default or newer style. It does not matter. I will go with default. Here also you can choose anyone. I will go with Slate. Then global.css. This is very important. So you need to specify where is your main CSS file. So our main CSS file is src index.css. So I will type src index.css. Make sure you type correctly, press enter. Would you like to use CSS variables? Yes. Are you using custom? No. So I will just press enter. Where is your tailwind config located? So it's in the root. So you don't need to enter anything, just press enter. Configure the import alias, yes, press enter. Configure import alias utils, press enter here. Are you using React server component? No, we are not using. So select no and press enter. Now write configuration to components.json. Yes, press Y, or you can also press enter and it will install all the required things for Shadcn. Now what is the next thing here? That's it. So we are done with this Shadcn UI configuration. So once this is installed, then we can see how to use that. So you can see it's successful. Now here you don't need, so if you are using Material UI or any other library, everything, or if you are using Bootstrap, all the components come by default when you install that. But with Tailwind CSS, you don't get all the component, anything, you don't get anything. So whatever you want to use, let's say I want to use this button, then you need to add that button. So I can click on this button, I can see how button looks. There is the different style. You can see this is some border, rounded border is there. So there is some difference. So you need to add those specific components manually. So I can click on this command and I can install this button component. So once you install this, you will see inside component, there will be one UI folder will be created. And inside that, you will see button.js file. So once it's installed, you will see that you can see button.js. So this is all button related code. You can modify if you need. So it contains all the default configuration, default classes you can use. You can see variant, you can add a variant, you can add size. So all this configuration is already there. So you just need to use this. So let's see how to use it. So inside app, let's say install instead of H1, I will use button. So you can see you need to import from components UI button. And let's close this. And here I can say hello world. If I go here, let me refresh. We need to restart. You can see we see the correctly the button is displayed. I can move this in the center if you want. So let's use some class margin Y4. You can see margin left, or we can see this button is correctly displayed. So you can add some, so as we have seen here inside button, we have variant and size. So you can add that. So I can add variant of, let's say, destructive. So this variant is destructive. So this variant is defined here. You can see destructive, outline, you can use any of these values. So once I save this, you can see it's in red color. So it automatically uses. So now this button is too big, I can make it smaller. So I can provide that size prop. So here size is SM. So if I refresh, you can see this is a small button. So whatever configuration classes you have, size, small, default, large, you can change that. You can also make it icon like button. You can see this is icon like button. So you can do whatever you want. So this is how you can install and use the Shadcn UI. So this is the application that we need to build. This is the final application. You can see it's a heading. We have different menus on the left side. So let's start building this application. So for that, we first need to install React Router DOM. So we can add routing functionality. So from left navigation, we can see that on the right side. Let me close this. So once it's added, here we can add browser router from React Router DOM. So inside browser router, you need to have routes component. So all your routes need to be defined inside route. So let's create some routes and I can import this. Make sure you import correctly from React Router DOM, then only it will work. So let's create some components. So you can see inside, whenever we use Shadcn UI, all the components are automatically added inside UI folder. So we don't want to create inside UI. So inside components, I will create a custom folder. And here we will add all our components. So let's create dashboard component, dashboard slash dashboard.js. So if you don't want to create any folder file directly, So let's say here, if I want to create dashboard component, I first need to create dashboard folder. Then inside that I can create dashboard.jsx. So it's extra work you need to do. So you can use a little trick. So inside custom, select the file icon and let's say dashboard/dashboard.jsx. You can add as many number of slash here. So those many nested folders, let's say files. So it will create those files folder inside dashboard. So I will create dashboard.jsx. So now this dashboard is created. I will just type RFC and the code is added. So that's the advantage of using that ES7 plus snippets extension. Now I will create addbook/addbook.js. Then we have editbook.js. So we'll create all the folders and files first and then we'll implement the routing. Students list. Make sure the component name and file is capitalized. Student list, then add student. Then what we have different things, issue book and return book. Return book. Now the next thing is analytics and chart. Analytics. And the next thing is chart. Chart/chart.js. Now we can use all of these components inside the app. So this will be dashboard. So if you see, we also have login screen. So first we'll implement all the inside functionality. So we have header and all the left navigation. This is displayed only if you are logged in. So we'll create a protected route first, and then we'll display that all these component only for logged in. So here we'll define a new route, and inside it we can add more routes. So this route will be parent route and these will be nested inside. So here you can define the dashboard component, import it. At the top, you can see we are importing from the dashboard. And here we can define whatever component we want. So here instead of dashboard, let's create protected route component. So this component will always execute route.js. And here I will use protected. So now anytime I access /dashboard, this protected route will always exist. And here I will use dashboard. And let's add all others, add books. Then we have students list. Then we have add student. And then what we have, issue book and return. Issue book and return book. Then student analytics and books chart. So we can just say analytics, student analytics, and this will be chart. So all these are added. Logout will, there is no separate route we need to create. And we also need to create invalid route. So if I access some invalid route, let's say /help, then also I need to display something. So instead of showing blank page, we need to redirect user to the dashboard. So let's define the last route with path equal to star. And here we can define navigate component, navigate to /. And here instead of this, for now we'll just say navigate to dashboard. So now what will happen? Now if I access /, we are automatically redirected to dashboard. So right now we don't have any login functionality. So we are adding this navigation. And for all other routes which are not defined in any of the above routes, we are redirecting to /. So / will again redirect to dashboard. So here, if I access help, you can see we are redirected to dashboard. So which is the protected route. So protected route always gets executed, as I said. And if you access dashboard, that will also get executed. So here what we need to do, instead of displaying protected route, we need to display the nested route, whatever we are accessing. So if you see here, we have left navigation, right navigation, and we have header. So let's first display heading here. So let's create header component, header.js. Here we can add library management system. And this header we want on all the pages. So add book, student list, every page we want that to be displayed at the top. So instead of adding that in individual component, we can add that inside the browser header. Now this will always display. You can see library management system. So as we are using tailwind CSS, there is no heading, large heading. So all the CSS is reset by tailwind CSS. You need to write your own, which is good thing. So you don't have any default styling. You use your own styling however you want. So here inside this header, we can style this better. So I will say text center, then text 3XL, then text primary. You can see it's displaying in the top. I will just add margin Y 3. So 5 margin Y means vertical margin. Let's say 3. 3 is better. So if you see this color is not looking correct, so I want this same color. So I have already copied this. So we will use the same. So to do that, you can go to tailwind config file. And here you can see primary, secondary, all these colors are there. So I will just paste it here. Now, whenever you are using PG primary or text primary, this color will be used. If you use text secondary, this whatever default secondary color is there, that will be used. Now inside the header, we are already using. You can see it's immediately turned into blue. So tailwind CSS automatically recognizes that. You can see now it's blue. I want that to be bold also. So you can say font semi bold. Now it looks better. So if you see there is some spacing, so I will add tracking wider. So it will add letter spacing wider. So there will be some spacing. And this should also be uppercase, all letters. So now it looks exact. Let's add some shadow also at the bottom. So I can say text, you can say shadow. Let's say SN. Let's see ND. We can see there is some shadow which looks like this. Let's add some padding at the bottom. Padding bottom, say 3. So now this looks better. Now let's add these menus, left side navigation. So this header is done. Now the navigation will be, we will create a separate component for that. So this navigation will always display. So inside protected route, we will be adding that. So let's define the left section here and one more div for right section. The right section will be whatever content we add. and this will be left section. So for left section, let's create navigation components. And here we'll add all those navigation buttons. So it will be li, and let's use the link component from React Auto down. I can say dashboard, then add book. Let's define 2 equal to slash, and this will go to 2 equal to slash add. Now we need to use this inside the protected route. So here I will use navigation. Make sure you import correctly the component we created. Now you can see on the left side, you see the dashboard. When I click, you can see we are correctly going to that particular section. We want this content to be on the right side. So let's style this. So we'll make this flex. So now they will be side by side. And we want some gap between them. So let's say flex 1. So this will take the 1% width. So there is a 12 column grid. So it will take 1 column width. And here I can use flex. So if you see, there is only flex 1. There is no any flex 10 or something like that. That's why that intelligence extension is very important. Here, if I want to add 11, I can add that in a bracket. Now you can see there is some spacing added. So now let's add some margin between this. So navigation we have added. This looks all fine. Let's add some padding. Y 2. It's a padding tool. There will be some padding, and here we can add some rounded border. Let's say ring 1, ring like 200. You can see now the border is added here. The padding, let's say padding bottom 2. So here there is some gap we can see. So instead of adding this ring here, let's add that in the protected row for the navigation. Ring 1, ring select, setting. If I refresh, we still have some padding. So here padding 2. But you can see now it should cover the left section. You can see it should cover the entire height of the screen. So here we can say minimum height screen. Let's add this for the content also. It will cover the entire height. You can see this looks a bit less. So instead of flex 1, let's use flex 2. 2 is too big. This is 1.8. So 12 column grid we have 1.8 minus 12 minus 1.8 is 10.2. So here we use 10.2. Now this looks better. Once we style, will look better. So here BG primary, and we need to add it here. So let's add some margin between them. So margin Y, let's say 2. So if you see, we need to repeat these classes for everyone if we are using tailwind CSS. So instead of manually typing all these menus again, what we'll do, it's good practice to create a constant. So inside SRC, we can create utils folder. Inside it, we can create constant.js file. And here, let's export const menu items. It will be array of objects. So what we need the title as well as the path. So when we click on this, which path we need to redirect. So let's declare title of dashboard. Path will be /dashboard. Let me open that app.jsx this side. So we can see both of them. Now let me copy this. So the next thing is add book. Next is students list. Add student. Then issue big. Issue book. Return book. Then analytics. So it's student analytics. So if you see, it's student analytics for the text. And name is just analytics path. And we have chart. It's books chart. Books. Now we have this constant we are exporting. Now inside this navigation, instead of adding this, we can loop over those menu items. Dot map for individual menu item. We can return this li. And here we'll display title menu item dot title. So we can destructure here itself title and path. And this will be path. Now this is better, so we don't have to repeat everything again and again. So if we go here, you can see it's getting displayed. Let's make them styling better. So we'll add padding of 2. Not as padding 2. You can see now let's add rounded MD. This looks better. And the text color will be white. Yes, so this looks better. Let's add cursor pointer by default. So when I mouse over, you see this cursor pointer. So margin is fine. We don't want this color to be present every time initially itself. So let's define a state. And we can say initial state for current index. Set current index. And it will be use state 0. So if I say 0, and here I can add a conditional statement. So this will be only when we mouse over. Add conditional statement if current index is equal to the index which we are looping over. So map method gets that index. We can check if it's exactly equal, then we'll add that text primary, BG primary. We want that for background and text white. So text white only if we mouse out. So it will remove it from here. Otherwise, we will not add any classes. So if the current index right now is 0, 0 equal to the dashboard, which is 0th index, then only we'll add that. So you can see now this is highlighted. Now when I mouse over, I want to add those classes. So here I can add hover class. When I hover, then I can add text, BG primary, not text. And again, when I hover, text white. Now you can see it correctly displays this hover. Now by default it's 0, that's why we are seeing this. Now you can see when I click on this, I want that to be selected. So if you see here, final application, when I click, it remain as it is. So we don't see that initial dashboard to be selected. So now we need to add that on click. We can add it here on click. So once we click on this, we need to set the current index. set current index to the index currently looping, which we are using. Now, if I click, you can see now it correctly displays that matching. But if I refresh, now you can see the page is analytics, but it's highlighted as dashboard. If I go to issue book, this is working, but if I refresh, now it's back to dashboard because initial index is 0. Let's use -1 as the index, so none of these will be highlighted. But depending on this path, we can highlight this particular left section. So to find out what is the path, we can use location hook from React router down. And here I can use path name property. So if I print this, you can see what is the current path name. Let me zoom in. When I click on this, you can see path name is live student list. If I click on this issue book, you can see it's issue book. So we correctly get that path name. For dashboard, it's so let's see the path name. I think we are not changing that path name. Dashboard add book student list. This should be add student. Oh, this is the link is inside li. So let's do one thing. Here we can add navigate. Const navigate equal to use navigate. And here we'll manually redirect. So let's say handle navigation, or we can say handle click. And we'll receive that index. We'll set current index, and then we'll navigate manually. We also need path. We'll pass path also, index and path. We'll navigate to path. So now both the li, when we click on li, it will navigate, as well as that inside text that will also correctly navigate. So here we can add this, and let's pass this manually. Handle click, index and path. When I click on issue book, now you can see it correctly goes to issue book, add student. This is correctly highlighted. Now if I refresh, we want to automatically take that path and highlight this left section. So here we can add one more condition. If path name, so which we are taking from use location, path name equal to the path which is coming. If index equal to correct index or path name equal to the current path, it will add that. So if I refresh, now you can see it correctly highlights it. When I click also, it's highlighting because on click, we are changing the index. So this condition will be satisfied. And when we refresh, we are getting that path name. So path name will match with the correct path. So if I go to return book and refresh, now you can see it correctly displays. We also need a logout. So let's add logout here. Path will be empty and we'll add logout. Now we are done. So now on the refs, when we click on this, I need to change the right side content. So if you see app.jsx, here we are. This is our parent component protected route, which we always execute when we access any of these routes. And to render these nested routes inside protected route, here on the right side, we need to use the outlet component from React router route. Outlet from React. So now it will correctly display that component. So when I click on this add student, you can see add student is this display issue. So outlet component is used to render nested component. So inside that protected route, we are rendering that nested route. So now this is all working. So let's work on the displaying list of books. So for that, we need to first set up our Supabase data. Supabase is a very powerful database, PostgreSQL database. So if you are building your own SaaS, you will see that Supabase is used because it's very easy to use. You don't have to worry about scaling it. It's very fast. So if you once you go here, you don't have any account, you can create this account. So you can do login with GitHub, or you can sign up with email and password. So I already have account, so I will just log in with my credentials. And now you can see once logged in, we don't have anything here. So let's create a new project. Here I can say my project. And here I will create generate password. You can remember or you don't need actually. For our application, we don't use this. So and this region, you should select your region which is nearest to all your users. So if you are building SaaS application from where your users are accessing your application, if it's USA, then you should select USA region which is nearest to our user. So that will make sure your API response will come faster. So I am in India, so I will select this Mumbai location and click on create new. Now this will create the required setup for our Supabase. You can see it has created the API key. So we need this API key. So let's copy this. So let's create, let me close all of this. And we need to, so whenever you are storing any API key or private information, you need to store that in .env file. So let's add this. This is anonymous public key. So with underscore public key equal to this. And we also need project URL. With underscore project URL equal to this. So make sure you start your variable with with underscore, then only it will work as we are using with.js. So you don't need any extra library or npm package to read those environment variables. So once you start your variable name with underscore, you can easily access this. So I can go to, let's create a new file, supabase.js, and here we can use that. So you can see the project is created. Now you can go to API docs, and here you can see how to create the project. So I can just copy this text and paste it here. So you can see it needs project URL, Supabase URL, so which we created. So you can keep it here itself if you want. It's not private information, but I like to keep it separate. So I will use import.meta.env.name of the variable. So this is how you access environment variable in with.js. Now we also need the Supabase key, so which is always anonymous key. So here if you see project settings, API, so this anonymous public key which we want to copy. So this which we have already copied. So let's I access this. So it will be import.meta.env. Now we can export this Supabase variable. Export default Supabase. So now this Supabase is available. We can use this to insert, update, or interact with our database. So before interacting, we need to create tables. So you can go to this table editor. Now click on create table. Here we can create a new table with name of books. So what different things we have? If I go to final application, we need book name, author, publisher, ISBN. Image will add later. So we'll first integrate all of this and later we'll see how to integrate image or upload image to Supabase, and then we'll see how to add it in the databases. The name, author, publisher, ISBN. So here you need to enable row level security. This is good for security reasons. So only authorized person will be able to access your application data. So now let's click on add. Here I can give name of text. Type will be text. Text, I don't want book name to be empty. So I will uncheck this. Here I can say name author. Author will be again text type. So text is any character length you can use. So 1000, 2000 character data you can enter if type is text. So any unlimited number of characters you can use. So now author also I don't want null. Publisher, this will also be text, not nullable. ISBN, again text. This should not be nullable. And we can also add updated at. So if you see the final application, So we have these two. So let's say I am updating the cats in the hats. When I click on update, I will update this, click on update book. Now you can see that is displayed on the top. So the latest updated will be displayed on the top. So if you have a lot of books, it's good to identify if it's updated or not. So I will add updated at column here, just like created at. So the type will be times Z. So Z will be with time zone. And here click on this and we'll use default current time as the value. So this also should not be null. You always need updated at. When you create book, created at and updated at will be same as we are using now. So current timestamp as the default. Now this is all done. Click on save. So this will create a new table, books table with all those fields. Now you can see a table is added. Let's add one of the books so we can get that data and display. So let's click on insert row. So later we'll add book section, but first we'll display this. So let's add some book. So let me copy the same here. Name will be this. Then author will be this. Publisher Random House. Then ISBN, this will be ISBN. That's it. So created at, updated app will be automatically added. ID will also be automatically generated. So just click on save. You can see now we have one record added. Now how to access this from the database? So for that, you can again go to API docs. I will open this in new tab. And here you can see under tables and views, here we have books. So every time you create a new table, you will see that listed here. And once you click, you will see all the APIs that you can use to access that information. So if I search for select, here you can see read rows. So how to read rows? You can see this is the code for reading. I will just click on copy and will not add this code. So whatever API call we have will not be adding directly in the component, which is not a good practice. So we'll create a new API folder and inside it we can say books API.js. And here we can use that. So let's create a function get books. Let me zoom in. Get books equal to declare a async function. So we can use await inside. So let me make this const. So this is how you access your data books table. From books table, we are reading everything. So if there is any error, we'll console.log that error and we'll throw that error. New error while getting list of books. Try again later. And we can return these books here. So if there is an error, then we'll display, otherwise we'll return them. So now we need to call this function to get the list of books. We will not be using use effect hook or we are not using a Redux toolkit. So we'll be using React query or it's known as Tanstack query. Now it's changed to Tanstack query. If I search, you can see this is the website. It's renamed from React query to Tanstack query. So now click on read docs. This is good for it provides caching ability. So it automatically updates your data. So it provides for server side state. So in our application, if you go to navigation, you can see we declare a state here. So this is a client side state. So we know when it will update because we are changing it here. But what about server state? So whenever we get data from the backend, so this is data coming from the backend. So when it updates, you don't know when it will update. So if I want to get that data, you need to refresh that page, then you will be able to see that. So this React query will automatically refetch, also caches the data. So just like Next.js provides caching, here also it provides caching. So you don't lose your data and you will immediately see the response. So you don't have to see the loading indicator long time. So to set up, you can go to installation section here and we need to install this library. So let's copy this and I will install it here. So this will install that Tanstack React query package. And to use it, you can just click on get started, quick start. So we need to use this. So our entire application, we need to wrap it inside it. So let me restart application and go to main. So our entire app, we can wrap it inside this query provider. So now this query client provider, we need to import it from Tanstack query. And this query client also we need to create. So let's copy this and paste it here. Let's import this query client also. So it's very important to know that this query client has to be outside. It should not be inside the component. So I can add this in an app also. And let me go back. I can add this, move this from here to here. Query client provider, and I will do it. So we have added our entire application, wrapped entire application inside this query client provider. You can do that. But this variable, whatever we are declaring here, it needs to be present or added outside. So this new keyword, you need to write it outside. It's very important because using this query client object, all the caching is handled. So if you add this variable inside app component, if your app component re-renders, you are creating a new cache. So you are losing your cached information. So you should not put this inside any component, put it outside. So it will not be changed whenever the component re-render. That is very important thing. Otherwise, your data will not be cached. So now we have added this. So we have all the functionality of Tanstack query available. So to get that any data, you can use query hook. So if you have worked with GraphQL, you might know that there is a query and mutation. So there is a use query hook and use mutation. So whenever you want to get something, you use query. And if you want to update, insert, delete, in that case, you use mutation. So you can see use query takes a lot of arguments and it returns a lot of things. So you should always check the documentation for information of and changes. So we are using version 5. Make sure you are using version 5. Version 4, there is bit difference. So make sure you are using the latest version. So you can go into package.json and see which version of Tanstack query you are using. So I'm using version. So now to use this inside the dashboard component, we can make use query. And here we need to pass an object. So you can see it needs query key. So you need a unique key using which React query or Tanstack query caches the data. So here I can name it books and you also need query function. So you need to define a function which will return a promise. So I can define a function and it will return hello. So it should return a promise. So to return a promise, you can just declare a function as async. Now this use query returns a couple of things, a lot of things actually. So you can get data is pending. So make sure you are using is pending. There is loading also. Is loading is in the previous version, React Router Tanstack query version 4. And now it's replaced by is pending. So to get the correct value of loading state, you should use is pending. And there is data and errors. So if there is any error. So let's print the data first and we'll see what we get. So if I open console, you can see you get the data hello. Here we have also warning. So while using navigation map method, we are not adding key. Key equal to, you should give unique key. So in our case, every title is unique. So we can use that title. So if I refresh now, we don't have that warning. You can see now data we get as hello. So initially data is undefined. So you need to know that initially the data error, it will always be undefined. And later once you make that API call, you get that response, then you will get that updated data. So once the data gets updated, your component, wherever you are using use query, will re-render and you will get that updated data. Now here always you need to add a function which will return a promise. And we already have API available, books API, which is declared as a thing. So it will return a promise. So now I can use this get books function here and I will import it. Now let's see what we get. If I refresh, you can see we are getting undefined. So we have data in our database. You can see this books table contains data. We are fetching from books table everything, but we are getting undefined because by default, when you enable row level security, so we have seen when we add new table, there is a check mark, enable row level security. So when it's enabled, you will not be able to access your data until you add your some policy. So click on add RLS policy, row level security policy, and click on create policy. Now here we can click on select. So I want to allow all users to access this. So for now we don't have login, we'll add that later. So for now I will add read access for all users. Make sure it's select and now this looks good. Click on save policy. Now after adding this policy, now if I refresh this page, you can see we are not still not getting that data. Why it's not getting? Because we are not importing this Supabase. So we need to also install this package. So whatever package we are using, so let's go back. So guides, so what package we are using? Supabase. This library we need to install first. So we forgot to install it. So this is the library using which we are able to make API call and get the data from the Supabase. Let me restart the application. Save this. Go back. Now you can see you get the data. Data contains an array and whatever book we have added. So initially data is undefined, then we get that data. So we are successfully able to get this data. Now we want to display it. So if you see how we are displaying on the dashboard, we are displaying in a grid. So for that we can use AG grid, which is very easy to use. So just search for AG grid and React. And here you can click on quick start guide. So it's very much customizable. I like it to use it. It also provides pagination, default pagination. So first thing is we need to install this. Now once it's installed, we can copy this code and wherever we want to use that inside the, I want to use it in the dashboard. So here on dashboard, we are displaying that grid. So I will import it at the top and we can use this example to see if it correctly displays. Let me copy paste this for now. And we to display that grid, we need to use this div content, paste it, save it. Now we have already imported this. This looks fine. So let's see how it displays. So if I refresh the page, we have some error. Let's see. Use state is not defined. So let's import use state. You can see now this correctly displays and we don't have any error. So you can see this is the grid. So we have very less number of columns. That's why it's not displaying properly. But if I increase these columns, this is data and let's increase the columns. You can see now it displays correctly and this is also responsive. So we don't have to worry about making it more responsive. So let's style it better. So we can see that on the top we have this books list, then we have search box, and then this table. So here inside the dashboard, let's wrap this in a div. Here we can add h1. So let's see what we added in the header. Header we added h1. Let's add it h2 here. And here we can say, what was the name? Books list. Let's copy the same classes. So we don't have to write it again. So we don't need this text primary. Text, let's make it 2XL. Font semi-bold. This is all shadow, padding bottom, the margin Y3. We already have added it. We don't need again. So if we check now, you can see this is display. Let's change text to 3XL to make it better. And let's remove that font bold. Yeah, this is better. Now let's also make this grid smaller. So for that, you can add one more div here. Here let's add a class padding x2. Let's add 3. So you can see there is some padding and it displays nicely. Let's add some margin y3 here. So there will be some margin. So you can see now it displays. Now we don't have pagination. So if you see here, there is a pagination. We can select it. So to add that, you can just add pagination property. Pagination equal to true. Once you add this, you can see now you see this pagination. So we have 7 records. Let's add a couple of more records so we can see that pagination working. We can see now we have a lot of records. So by default, all these are displayed on a single page, which I don't want. So what you can do is you can also provide pagination size, pagination page size. Page size, let's say I want to display 10 records on every page. So now if I refresh, you can see you correctly see only 10 records. For the next record, I can click on the next button and you see the list of next records. And you can see we have option here drop down, so we can see all 15 records here. So we have specified 20, 15, so that is default. But if I want to see this, you can also customize this, but that is fine for now. So you can see if I select this 20, by default it's 20. So let's refresh. I have set it to 10 by default, so you correctly get 10 records. I can click on next and you see this next record. So now let's display our books instead of this hard-coded data. So let me remove this raw data. And where is our books? So let me rename this data to books. So it's more clear that it's list of books. So instead of raw data, now we'll use books. And here, instead of here, we need to specify all the column names. So which are the different column names we have here? Let's go to table, books. So you need to use exact same column. So I need to display name, author, publisher, ISBN. Yes, that's it. Name, author, publisher, ISBN. Let me remove this. And let's see how it is. You can see now it's getting this. We also need a couple of more columns. You can see assign to, edit and delete. So let's add a few more. We can call it assigned to. So it automatically capitalizes this. So if you go here, you can see it has capitalized this, separated by space. Assign to, then edit and delete. So now we have, you can see there is a scroll bar, so the content is larger. We don't want large column width for edit and delete. So we can also specify max width. Let's say 100 pixel. Let's copy this for this also. So now you can see they are fitted in the, we don't have any much scroll bar. So assign to, we need to add some text here. So for the value, so if you see there is a student text and with underline. So here I can add cell renderer. So for any custom content, you can add cell renderer. This is a function. And here you can define whatever you want to display. So I want to display student. So let's go back and refresh. Here cell renderer, it should be rar. You can see now student is displayed. Let's style this. So it should have underline. Now this is looking better. I can also add cursor pointer. So it's clickable. It indicates that it's clickable. Now edit and delete, we need to add some icons. You can see here edit and delete. So when you install Shadcn UI, you can see you immediately get Lucid React icons. So these are available by default in Lucid. So if I search for Lucid icons, you can see lucid.dev. So here you will see a list of icons. I want that edit icon, so I can search for edit. And you can use any of these icons. So let me copy this pencil, copy JSX, and wherever I want to render. So here again I need to use cell renderer, and I will add that, let's say div, and here I will add that pencil. Let me import this pencil from the React. Save this. Let's see how it displays. You can see this is displaying. Let's see if there is any edit icon. Yes, edit icon is there. Yeah, this is better. So this is similar to what we see here. Let's style this. So we'll add class equal to padding y2. And let's, you can also give class here. Color equal to, let's say, gray. Let's add it class here itself. So you can see. And let's add size also. Size equal to 20. This does not work. Let's bring that back. Padding y2, color gray. Yes, this is looking good. Let's add class name of cursor pointer. Yeah, this looks better. Now for delete also we need to add. So let's copy this, add it here. So there is a trash icon. So you can see trash is there. And color will give red. You can see this is looking correct. So let's use background bg red. Not bg red. Let's see trash 2 icon is also there. Yeah, this is better. So you can see this is exactly same. So trash or trash 2 you can use. So now we have this edit and delete buttons. Now we also need this search functionality. So when I search for doctor, you can see you get immediate result. So let's add this. So here inside this, you can add one more div. Here I can add, this is some border. Let's add border here. And we have some icon here. So that is search icon. And we have input field. So let's use input type equal to text. Placeholder. Search by any field. So let's see how it displays. Let's make it side by side using flex. Let's add some margin Y3. Let's add some padding to search. Now let's remove the outline here. Class name equals outline none. Yeah, now there is no outline. And let's decrease this width. So you can say max width MD. And let's say small. Yeah, this looks better. Let's make this rounded. Here I can say rounded MD. Yeah, this looks better. Search by any field. Color. So here, let's add some margin. Padding left. Yeah, this looks better. Now, when I search here, I want to filter this out, but for that we need some more books. So let's copy this. Let's add one more book. Here, from here we can add. We'll add a new section later to add it from the application. Author, publisher, and ISBN. Let's click on save. Now, if I go here, you can see it immediately reflects. So that's the power of React query. So once the backend data changes, so the data which is coming from API changes, and you focus on your application window, it automatically refetches that data. And you don't see the loading. So this is good. So you don't have to wait until the data gets changed again. So this is how the React query library or Tanstack query library refetches that data. So if you want to see, we can also install dev tools. So Tanstack query by default has its own dev tool. So let's install that. So using this, you can see how the data is changing, what data is coming, when it will change, all these things. So this is really useful to track what different things you are using in your React application. Now, once it installed, to configure, we need to use this React Query Dev Tools. So anywhere inside the query client provider, I will add it here. You can add this. Initial is open false. So initially it will not be open. So if you refresh, on the bottom right corner, you will see some icon added. You can see there is a new icon. You can click on this. You can see this is a new dev tool. So it identifies, it tells you what are the different queries or mutation you are using. So this is mutation and this is query. So this is a books query that we have created. So inside the dashboard, we have named the query. So let me minimize this. So the query name we have given is books. So using that, you can see we have data. So data explorer. So we have two books available. You can see all the information here also. If I want to refetch that data, I can execute invalidate. So it will refetch that. Once you fetch that data, you can see it's in stale state. So it immediately indicates that it's older, old data. Now, whenever you focus again, it will again refetch that data and see if there is any change. So if I change anything, so let's say here I will change cat hats, I will change. So now if I focus again, you can see it has again refetched that data and it's again back. So it again refetches that data and it again marks as stale. So if you can also configure that inside the app, wherever we are using query client, you can also provide some options. Default options. Here you can say queries and you can provide stale time. Let's say 10 seconds. So 10 into 1000. So 1000 milliseconds. So this is 10. So it will be 10,000 milliseconds. So you need to specify time in milliseconds. So if I refresh now, you can see it's not stale, it's fresh. So for the 10 seconds, it will remain fresh, and after 10 seconds, it will again try to refill that data. So you can see now after 10 seconds, it's staying. So again, if I go to any tab and come back, it will again refill that data. You can see now it's again fresh. So it tries to refill that. If you don't want to refill that on every window focus, you can turn that off. There is option refetch on window focus. We can make it false. So by default it's true, which is good thing. You should always have it true. But if you, for some reason you want to disable, you can use this particular property. So this is globally. So for your entire application, wherever you are using use query, all this configuration will be used. I don't want to add any of these right now, so I will remove it. You can also add this individual query also. Here you can add stale time. You can see stale time. You can add it here also. You can also, there is also enabled flag, which will not make that API call initially. So if I say enable false, if I refresh, you can see it's in loading state. So it does not fetches that data because I am saying don't fetch that data. I want to fetch that data on some event like on button click. I want to fetch that. In that case, you can disable that first and then you can remake that API call to get that data. But this is by default enabled is true. So you will always, so whenever you use query on component load only, it will refill that, which is the default field. Now we have this, so we have added search field. So I want to search here and this field data should be filtered. So for that, here you can pass one prop filter. You can see there is some quick filter text. So whenever I type, let's say I type here Julia. So you can see you get Julia. So it automatically filters only Julia. But I want to type here and I want to filter that. So for that, you need to store that input field, whatever you are changing. So let's declare a state here. A default value search term, set search term. It will be empty. Now, whenever I type anything on change, I will set that search term to event.target.value. So whatever I am typing. And that search term, I will use it here instead of Julia. So whenever I set search term, this search term will be updated and component will re-render because we are setting state. And again, this quick filter text will be passed and it will re-render that component. So now if I search for doctor, you can see it immediately filters. If I search for SEU, you can see it immediately filters. So you correctly update that information. Here you can also make that color, let's say gray. So it will not be too much dark. Yeah, this is better. So it matches something with this. Search by any field. Now I can filter by any field, not just author or name. So if I search for, you can see you get only one publisher, one book with that matching text. So no matter how many records you have, you will be able to easily filter out. I can filter by 800. You can see it filter by the ISBN. So this is how you can add a filtering. There is also pagination, default pagination. If you add some extra books here. So now we have this books list ready. Let's work on the add book functionality.